back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast. I'm your host, Sana, and this is a space where we explore the intersection of personal growth, wellness, and conscious living. Now, today's episode hits close to home for so many of us, high achievers. Whether you are running a business, leading a team, or juggling the many hats life throws at you, there is one thing that often gets left behind: your hormonal health. And joining me today is Chelsea McLeod. Let me share a bit about her with all of you. She's a corporate dropout turned powerhouse hormone health coach for high performing women. After leading a $60 million e commerce business, burning herself out and healing from PCOS, insomnia, and high cortisol, she is now on a mission to help over 1 million women out there balance their hormones, reclaim their energy, and feel amazing. Now, from working with the women at Amazon, at McKinsey, and Google to C suite execs and entrepreneurs, Chelsea has helped women around the globe finally get back in sync with their bodies. So, with that, we are diving deep into hormonal balance, gut health, and how to thrive in high pressure roles without even burning out. So, listeners, if you have ever felt like you are doing all the things, but your body isn't keeping up, this one's for you. So, with that, let's begin. Yeah. Chelsea, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So, just finished with the intro. So, with that, Chelsea, welcome to the show. And it is really an honor having you with us today.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Okay. So Chelsea, before we talk about the topic, let's talk a bit about your journey as well. So you have worked with like 200 high performing women across industries, from moms to C-suite executives. What are the most common hormonal imbalances you um, have been observing across, and why do you think they are so prevalent or probably rampant right now?
That's right, Sana. I mean, they are dime a dozen these days. I think any woman who has either had kids, who's working in a high performance corporate role, who has just been kind of burning the candle at both ends for years, decades, sometimes even longer, are typically seeing things like weight gain, even though there's not a huge change to how much they're exercising. In fact, some of my clients are exercising and doing all the things right, and they're still gaining weight. Things like skin issues, a lot of sleep trouble. So, women who are having trouble falling and staying asleep, energy issues, mood issues, changes in cycle, also obviously fertility issues. But I also see things that are a little bit less obvious that people think are just normal, like having food cravings and overeating and losing their hair that they just think is associated with getting older or being stressed. And there's always solutions for these women. And I think at a systemic level, when we look at this, it's really because women aren't really taking care of themselves and they don't understand the toolkit to really help them give their bodies what they actually need and manage their nervous systems in a way that actually helps them keep their hormones balanced so they can look and feel the way they want to.
Uh, so there is definitely a connection between high achievement and hidden health struggles because uh, it kind of feels like for women that these symptoms are kind of the price that they have to pay. Did you think, Chelsea, this is the case or it's something else?
I think that mindset is so common where people think it's just the price they pay for having it all, right? They're like, if I'm gonna be a mom and I'm also gonna work, this is just kind of, I have to put my health and my physical results on the back burner in order to achieve that. And the thing is when women have the skills, and I truly say skills because this is not something we're necessarily born with these days, because, we're participating in a society that's really demanding way too much of women. But when we can have the right tools in our toolkit and the right emotional awareness and the right food and the right just strategy of how to keep your hormones balanced, it makes these situations so much more navigable, and it also makes it much more enjoyable. Like, I find so many women who, once they actually understand what their body needs, work becomes easier, parenting gets easier, they have more time, they have more energy. So a lot of the time, it's not really because it's not possible, it's because these women don't have the skills yet.
I agree. I agree. And Chelsea, what brought you to the world of understanding and helping the high achieving women out there? I mean, there must have been a moment in your journey as well where you felt that you need to listen to yourself, to your body. What what was that like?
So I ran myself into the ground in corporate for 10 years. I was head of digital commerce at multiple publicly traded companies in the US. And during that time, I saw a steady decline in my sleep. I had fluctuations in my weight. I had a lot of skin issues. And I didn't really feel or look the way I want to. I didn't feel confident in my own skin. I didn't feel confident in my clothes. And I was on this, you know, hamster wheel of overeating and then over-exercising. So I'd wake up and I would have a good breakfast, but then by nighttime, I would be so starving that I would come home and eat everything in my kitchen over like a raccoon over my kitchen sink. And then I would do 2 spin classes to make up for it and try to do all this walking, and it just wasn't working. And I felt like the the effort I was putting in didn't match the result that it should have created. And so that's where I really had to look at healing my hormones, and I didn't realize that my hormones were even an issue until I started working with a natural practitioner who, she's a skin specialist, so I didn't really go to her for hormone healing. I went to her to fix a specific problem for me, and she actually made me aware that I had some pretty deep hormonal imbalances until I was willing to really fix those and look at things like healing survival mode, healing high cortisol, balancing my hormones and making changes to my life, my diet, how I exercised. That is when I actually started to see very, very rapid results and started pursuing this myself as something that I could help other women with by going back to school.
Mm, yeah, I mean definitely. And thank you for sharing that, Chelsea. And now let's talk about your current work. So your current work involves the healthy hustle method, which delivers results quite fast. 8 to 10 pounds in just weeks, a few weeks, better sleep and clearer skin. How exactly does this work, and what's the first step you recommend for women who feel overwhelmed by their health but they have no clue how to start?
I think most women start by going to see a doctor, by hiring a personal trainer, by, saving a bunch of reels on Instagram. But at the end of the day, until you have a really dialed in, personalized plan that really takes into account your unique hormonal snapshot, it's really difficult to make any meaningful process. So when women come in, we do a very comprehensive health intake because no client is the same and no client is going to be doing the same thing or eating the same thing, or it really depends on their symptoms, how old they are, what they're already doing, how what current lifestyle or health practices that they already have in place. Some people are further ahead than others. And so we really have to find that those 1 or 2 things that they can really focus on to get those rapid results. And so for some people, that's really changing the way they eat. It's changing the structure of their meals, the timing of their meals. And that doesn't mean that, you're eating salad every day. It's really making sure that you are able to enjoy your favorite foods, but in the right quantities and at the right times. And so for a lot of those women, it's learning how to heal their relationship with food, how to eat more whole foods, how to reduce processed foods. So that's a big part of it. And then another part is obviously doing functional medicine lab testing that tells us exactly where their imbalances are so we can laser target those protocols for them. So we look at hormones, we look at gut, we look at food sensitivities, we look at inflammation. There's just so many different avenues that we can use to really make that protocol super, super effective. And then obviously we look a little bit deeper. So we do that mindset work so that women understand their core distressing emotions. They understand their patterns, they understand their emotional eating habits. And so we're able to do that deeper level of work that a lot of health coaching programs miss. So I find that this mindset piece is huge where we're not focusing on dieting or restricting calories. We're focusing on becoming the person who can understand what our needs are and meet ourselves where we're at every single day so that we actually can feel and look good long term.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is so necessary. And 8 to 10 pounds in just a few weeks. So, everybody will be different. Every woman will be different, differently reacting to the changes, because the changes can be really sudden. So, how do you have a specific timeline in which this method delivers, or it depends on person to person?
It depends on how much weight they have to lose. But I would say most clients are definitely able to lose 5 to 10 pounds within the first 2 to 3 weeks. If they are really ready to make those changes and start to move quickly. It all depends on how quickly people are willing to make changes because some people want to go a little bit slower and some for my brides and for my moms who wanna be in a specific dress for their kid's baptism, like, very highly motivated. So, this is really about it's not so much about, you know, starving yourself, it's more about really removing some of that inflammation weight, which is why that weight loss is so extreme in the first couple weeks because we really work on everything at a root cause level so that your body's able to release a lot of that inflammation and water weight.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And uh, you know, stress, I guess it plays such a major role, important role in hormone disruption. And because you have struggled with cortisol, so um, if we can share some surprising ways stress shows up in the body, and how exactly do you guide women to manage it differently?
So one of the most important things that I do with clients is helping them understand their stress triggers. And so we really go through all the things that could be causing stress because most women just think it's work stress. It's, the stress of driving or going to meetings, but there are so many different stressors that people aren't aware of. And that could come in the form of high inflammation food, drinking too much, exercising too much, um, having nutrient deficiencies. So, really identifying those areas for those clients to make sure that we are giving them more of what they need and less of what they don't. So, we think of keeping cortisol balanced. And part of that is just, it could be as small as doing breath work during the day when you feel your heart rate increasing but it could also be as systemic as really changing the timing of your meals, making sure that you're eating within an hour of waking, making sure you're getting very high levels of nutrients, getting some functional medicine supplements in to really replenish some of the deficiencies that are inevitably created after decades of, eating a specific diet or not getting enough of a certain nutrient. So after clients are really able to stabilize that survival mode, they're able to have that full spectrum thinking. They're able to release weight faster. They're able to sleep better. And so, like you said, there's just so much disruption of hormones based on cortisol levels. So, your stress is going to impact your sleep. It's going to shut down your digestion. So, another big sign I see is, clients bloat a lot after meals during the day, or they get progressively more puffy as the day goes on, or they wake up at 2 or 3 a.m or, have a lot of trouble falling asleep, like those are all signs that your cortisol is elevated. And I see that in most women. So really giving them the tools to alleviate that, but also bring some awareness of when stress shows up in their body, where they hold it. Is it in their jaw? Is it in their belly? Is it, where are those physical places that tighten throughout the day as you feel the comings and goings of stress so that when you see that to start showing up in your body, you can use your tools to begin to release and balance it.
Mm-hmm. Uh, Probably this could be a little bit of a different perspective, Chelsea. That hormonal health, it's deeply personal. Yet there is so much of, like, biohacking advice out there. So how exactly do you navigate this tension between personalized or individualized care, and then the general um, um, remedies or not remedies, but like protocols that are so popular in wellness culture?
The personalized element is absolutely critical. So that's why women who are getting, generic advice from a podcast or from an Instagram reel, like they probably just won't get results, unfortunately. And so, while there's a lot of well-intentioned practitioners and a lot of great information out there, if it's not really bio individualized for you, it's not really gonna deliver the results, and so that's why I do have tangible results for clients in such a short period of time because it is very much targeted toward their unique situation because, there could be a 28-year-old woman who has a couple symptoms here, and there could be another 28-year-old woman who presents very similarly. Similar symptoms, maybe a slightly different body type, but when we look at their tests, they're totally different. And so they require totally different approach, different types of food, different considerations. I would tell one to exercise at a certain time and I would tell the other one not to exercise at all based on their lab tests. And so there's, 10 or 11 core hormone imbalance categories that I put people in, and based on that, it's further even personalized based on age, where they're at, if they have any other issues that might be contributing to the hormonal imbalance. Like, for a lot of them, the source is not always the same. So, I think it's really important if women are serious about results to make sure they are working with a practitioner because it's just gonna cut through a lot of the noise, and help them actually get results without wasting a ton of money on random supplements from the TikTok shop.
I agree. I agree. And Chelsea, you have supported women globally, but uh, then you also work with high performing men on boosting testosterone and weight loss. So, any do you see any key differences in how hormonal imbalances show up in men versus women? And I believe this is a really interesting question. I mean, what's your view on this?
It is so interesting because if we look at how hormones work, right? Obviously, women have a 28-day cycle. They have a totally different hormonal snapshot at any given time of the month. Men just operate in 15-minute increments. They just have a ping of testosterone. It's typically highest in the morning. It drops a little bit as the day goes on, and they replenish overnight. So they're on a totally different cycle. However, cortisol is going to affect men's sex hormones in a very similar way that it affects women's sex hormones. And so, for men, it shows up as trouble sleeping, weight gain, oftentimes libido. And so for them, it's, as their cortisol elevates, their testosterone decreases. And that means their drive goes down. That means their sleep quality goes down. That means they're not quite as motivated. They don't have that same get up and go. They might have mood or energy issues. And so for men, it's a little bit more simple. Obviously, for women, it's there are a host because women have so many more hormones as part of their monthly cycle. Those hormones can kind of go in a lot of different directions, whereas men's, it's typically just a decline in testosterone. So women are much more nuanced, but that doesn't mean that men don't have hormonal imbalances. In fact, a lot of them do. What is pretty staggering is only 10% of men have a hormonal imbalance, and women, it's closer to 80%. So what that tells me is that for women, they're much more sensitive to stress, which is not helped by the fact that so many of us are having kids and we're also working. Um, and for men, it's just not as high. They're much more stress resilient. So for them, their protocols can be slightly more aggressive, but the women are a little bit more nuanced.
80% and 10, that's oh
Yeah,
man,
I know. It's crazy.
it's really crazy. Um, I really, really, yeah, I mean, it's good to address the hormonal imbalances in men as well, but I feel like keeping in mind the numbers really, really important to address women's hormonal health as well. So with that, Chelsea, if our listeners would like to connect with you and explore more about your Healthy Hustle program and more explore more about your resources, what's the best way to do that?
You can find me on Instagram at healthy with Chels. That's where you'll find just a ton of free resources, a lot of information. I post a ton of free content. And on Instagram, you can also find I have a busy girl's guide to hormonal weight loss. where women can really download that to get those first 8 steps they can take to start releasing the weight, feeling better, balancing their hormones so they can really look and feel the way they want to. And most women can follow this plan just to elevate their energy, to improve their sleep, to lose those first 5 pounds. And from there, there are a couple options of how to work with me if clients are really ready for that next level of results.
Great. I'll make sure to have the links mentioned in the show notes. And Chelsea, thank you. Thank you so much for bringing such a clarity and, of course, compassion to this conversation. Uh, because for all the high achieving, high performing women out there uh, who are listening to this conversation, I know for the matter of fact that it really sometimes becomes such a dilemma to choose between success and well being. But this conversation itself proves that it doesn't have to be a dilemma or a choice. It can be balanced, it can be harmonized for both the aspects. So, thank you so much, Chelsea.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I hope it was helpful for your listeners, and I'll speak with you soon.
Absolutely. And if today's episode listeners resonated with you, be sure to check out Chelsea's Healthy Hustle method and the other resources she's providing. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes for you. And as always, remember that the mindful living isn't about doing more and more, it's about doing what matters the most for your body, mind, and soul. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay mindful. Thank you.